Yeah, we definitely do. And let's not forget Ross, right? It is Friday, and it's time for the Bell Breakdown. Film critic Josh Bell joining me today. We're only going to review one movie, but I know you want to get to another point after that, so we'll get to that. But the movie that we're talking about today is The Grudge. Now, if that sounds like it's been out for a while, it has been. This is yet another reboot, and you're not a huge fan, are you?
No, and I mean, I am a fan of horror movies, and I'm actually a fan of this director who takes on this new version of The Grudge, Nicholas Pesci, who's made a couple of really interesting independent horror films, The Eyes of My Mother and Piercing, so people should check those out maybe at home. But don't perhaps go see this new version of The Grudge. This is an often rebooted series, I guess you could say. There was a whole Japanese series that it was originally based on, which had multiple branches, and then there were 3 American films in the early 2000s with Sarah Michelle Gellar. She was kind of the biggest star in those, and the first one was all right. We were talking about it earlier off the air. I think it scared you a bit when you were younger.
Yes, gave me a few nightmares for a few years, but I watched the trailer for this, and it literally looked like the same exact movie redone.
Yeah, they are really doing the same thing. They have a kind of tenuous connection to those original American films, which you really won't catch unless you have studied up on them. And so it takes place in the same time period, 2004 to 2006. The idea is still there's a ghost of someone who was killed in a rage, and the house where they were killed is sort of, it's haunted, but it's like cursed, and anyone who goes into it, is dead eventually.
Basically, yeah.
They too end up kind of in a rage. They kill their loved ones and then kill themselves, and it's gruesome, but not in a creative way. Unfortunately, it's full of just cheap jump scares. It's got several timelines that kind of jump back and forth, but in a way that's only confusing and not illuminating, and just makes the story even more repetitive because we're seeing the same thing play out again and again with all these various different characters. There are some good actors in this: John Cho, Jackie Weaver, Andrea Riseborough, but they're not given much to do. The script here is really weak, and this is what we get at the beginning of January. It's just the junk that the studios are throwing away.
And I know you're the first one to reward creativity, but if they're not going to be creative and they're literally going to do the same movie again, you're going to be the first to criticize.
Yeah, and like I said, I was hoping for something more creative with this. I think this director is really talented and could have taken this basic horror premise and made something of it, and sadly, he really just doesn't. So hopefully he'll get back to something on a more independent level after this one.
We can hope.
Yes.
I do want to switch to kind of a bigger picture topic, which it seems more and more these days like less people are actually physically going to the movies. I don't have the numbers to back that up. It just kind of seems that way.
A bit, yes.
But there are actually at least one film in theaters right now that I know you are a big fan of, and you believe it's actually worth going to the theater to watch.
Yeah, I mean, there's a few movies in theaters right now that are worth seeing. We've got the Golden Globes coming up this weekend, so even though we've got the junk in theaters now in January, we got stuff left over from awards season. Knives Out, I think, is a lot of fun, and Little Women as well. Those are both in theaters right now. They're both nominated for Golden Globes in their Best Picture categories, and Little Women especially was one of my favorite movies of 2019. It's got fantastic performances, is family friendly. I think a lot of people went to see it over the holiday, and hopefully will continue to go. Knives Out is maybe a little more adult focused, but also really entertaining and very cleverly written. A great cast there with Daniel Craig and Jamie Lee Curtis and Don Johnson, a whole bunch of talented people. So yeah, there's good stuff to see in the theater, even if it's not what's new this particular week.
And if you need to know what films are worth going to the theaters for, they should check out your podcast, right?
Yeah, I would love for people to check out my podcast. It's Awesome Movie Year, and we actually talk about older films.
Okay.
We look at a different year in film in each of our seasons, and we're coming up to our 3rd season, which premieres this coming week, about the films of 1989 with my co-host Jason Harris, who's a local comedian. So that'll give you an idea of maybe some films to watch at home. If you're looking for films to watch in the theater, of course, watch the Bell Breakdown.
Exactly. You should just watch the Bell Breakdown.
You can check out joshbellhateseverything.com as well.
Okay, love it, Josh. Great stuff as always. I appreciate it. We're going to take a quick break, but we'll be right back. Stay with us.